Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, going to be talking through a couple player props I like on Prizepicks for tonight's NBA slate on Wednesday, April the 26th. We actually have 4 games tonight, so it's a decent sized slate. We haven't had like a 4-game slate in a while. A lot of the 4-game slates have been on the weekends, but we got 4 games tonight. Should be a fun slate. Got a lot of props to choose from. For this video, going to give out just 2 picks for today. 2 picks I do like, taking a first look at the board right now. But as always, guys, if you guys do enjoy these Prizepicks videos and if they do help you out, I do give out more Prizepicks plays over on Patreon. Patreon's been doing really well the last few days. We hit 5 out of 5 plays yesterday, cashed a 10x entry. The day before that as well, we hit we hit 5 out of 5 plays, cashed a 5-pick entry for 10x. So we've had 2 back-to-back days getting a 10x win over on the Patreon. Been doing really well. The YouTube plays have been doing really well as well, if you guys have been telling those. We hit our 2 plays on Monday, and we hit our 2 plays yesterday as well. Do want to recap those real quick before we talk through today's plays. So gave out 2 picks yesterday. Took the over on Karl-Anthony Towns fantasy points as one of our first plays. Towns had a pretty good game. He finished with, I think, like 44 fantasy points. He did wind up fouling out in the game, but he didn't foul out till like the final few seconds, so it didn't really matter anyway. But Cat got over his fantasy score, and then Bogdan had a really good game as well. We took his over fantasy score. I think he finished with about like 36 or 37 fantasy points, and we only needed 27 from him. So Bogdan, Cat came through for us yesterday. Hopefully you guys did tail those 2 plays. We've hit both of our plays 2 days in a row now, so we're on a nice little 4-0 run with these YouTube plays, and hopefully we can make it a 6-0 run after today. But before we do talk through these 2 plays, guys, as always, if you guys do enjoy these Prizepicks videos, if they help you out, hit that like button. I appreciate the likes. Hit that subscribe button if you have not yet. And if you guys are new to Prizepicks, if you have not checked them out before, you can actually sign up for Prizepicks and use my promo code Noah when you sign up. If you do look at the bottom of the screen, when you sign up for Prizepicks with my promo code, you will get your first deposit matched up to $100. So be sure to check them out if you have not yet. Use that code when you sign up, and you'll get you'll get your first deposit matched up to $100. But let's talk through the 2 plays I do like for this Wednesday slate, guys. 2 fantasy score props I'm liking, and the first one we're going to talk about is going to be John Morant's fantasy score. This line sits at 48.5 on Prizepicks. Feels about right for Ja here, but I do think that in a game like this, with this being an elimination game for the Grizzlies, we're going to see really, really big minutes for John Morant. And the last 2 games, have obviously been very big games. Ja's been healthy, didn't have to leave with injury. Game 1 of this series, that was the game that Ja, injured his hand. He only played 30 minutes. But Game 3 returned and played 41 and a half minutes. Last game, the game went to overtime, but Ja played 44 minutes in overtime, 39 minutes at the end of regulation. So I think if tonight's game is competitive, Ja's going to play like 38 to 40 minutes. And this line, I think, is a little bit too low if we expect Ja to play about 40 minutes, because you look at Ja this season in terms of fantasy points per minute. The guy's averaged 1.44 fantasy points per minute. So he is obviously a very productive player when he's on the floor. He's one of these guys that does everything. He scores, he rebounds, he gets assists. He can get defensive stats as well. Last game, he had like 3 blocks or 3 steals and a block. So he can get those steals. He can create fast breaks, obviously. He's just got a lot of ways he can get us fantasy points here. And when he's playing 38 to 40 minutes, I think more times than not, he's got a good chance of going over 48 and a half fantasy score. And if you do look at this season, when Ja has played at least 36 minutes, there's been 8 games this season where he's played at least 36 minutes. He's had at least 44 fantasy points in every single one of those games, and he's gone over this fantasy score line in 5 out of those 8 games. The 3 games where he went under, he had 45.5 fantasy points in 40 minutes against the Spurs. He had 45 fantasy points in 37 minutes against the Suns, and then he had 44.2 fantasy points in 38 minutes against Denver. But every other game this season where he's played at least 36 minutes, he's had like 49.3 fantasy points or more. So again, when Ja's playing 38, 40 minutes, I would project him for about 51, 52 fantasy points. I definitely think 48 and a half is a little bit too low. So this is the first pick that I do like for today. Is going to be John Morant, more than 48 and a half fantasy score. And I think with these guys being in elimination games, the Grizzlies, the Bucks we're going to talk about, like these teams that have to win tonight, I think you can really expect them to lean on their star players. I think Ja's going to have to play a ton here. So that's the first pick I do like for today. And then the other pick I like, we're going to go to another star player. We're going to take Giannis's fantasy score. This line sits at 54 on Prizepicks. I think this line was actually at 55 earlier today, and it got bumped down. I think this line is just too low for Giannis. I mean, you look at last game, Giannis got up to 38 minutes. He scored 60 fantasy points last game. And we know that Giannis is going to be a very productive player when he's on the floor. I mean, I think he's been the best per minute player this season. He's averaged 1.7 fantasy points per minute. And like I said, Giannis got up to 38 minutes last game. That was his first game back from injury. Clearly, there was no restrictions, no limitations. He played 38 minutes. This is a must-win game for the Bucks, so I think we can expect Giannis to just play a ton here as long as the game is competitive. Maybe Milwaukee goes out there and blows them out. I mean, right now the spread is 11.5 in this game. Maybe Milwaukee just comes out here and just steamrolls them, but I still think even if it's like somewhat of a blowout, like Giannis is still going to play just because they need the win. I mean, they don't want to risk not winning the game. So I'm expecting a ton of minutes for Giannis here. Hopefully the game does stay somewhat competitive. If you want to take like his first half fantasy score, I haven't looked at first half today. I'm assuming his first half line is probably like 27 or 27.5, or it's actually 28. Like if you're worried about a blowout, I guess you could take that fantasy score as well. But I would just rather go with the full game here. I think this game probably does stay competitive. These playoff games lately have been pretty competitive, and we saw last night. I mean, the 3 games last night all had double-digit spreads, and all of them were competitive games. So I think this game stays close, and if it's close, Giannis is playing 37, 38, maybe even 40 minutes. Again, he got up to 38.5 minutes last game, had a triple-double, had 60 fantasy points. And you take a look at this season, in the 15 games where Giannis has played at least 36 minutes, he is over this fantasy score line in 13 out of 15 games. So more times than not, when we're getting 36, 37, 38 minutes from Giannis, he's going to put up more than 54 fantasy points. The only 2 games where he went under this fantasy score were against Houston and against the Knicks. He had 49.6 fantasy points in 37 minutes against Houston, and then he had 43.5 fantasy points in 36 minutes against the Knicks. That was a pretty tough matchup, though. I think this matchup for Giannis is fine. I mean, Giannis has shown he can produce in any matchup. He had a great game last game. Bam Adebayo is a good defender, but Bam has kind of struggled defensively in this series. And Giannis is, again, very similar to Ja Morant. Giannis is one of these guys that just does everything when he's on the floor. He can score, he can rebound, he can get assists, he can get defensive stats. He just has so many ways of getting us fantasy points here. And in a must-win game, I expect the Bucks to really lean on Giannis. I expect huge minutes from him. So these are the 2 picks I do like for today, guys. More than 48.5 fantasy score for Ja Morant and more than 54 fantasy score for Giannis. These are 2 picks I'm liking, kind of taking a first look at the board right now. But again, guys, I will be providing more plays for today over on Patreon. Probably give out maybe 1 or 2 more NBA plays, and then I'll try and find maybe 1 or 2 MLB plays that I like for today. Probably make like a 5 or a 6 pick entry. Those are usually what I post on Prizepicks, on Patreon. So if you guys want to check that out, you can check that out. Link down below in the description. But appreciate you guys watching the video. As always, make sure you hit that like button down below if you guys enjoyed. Hit that subscribe button if you have not yet. And go check out Prizepicks as well. If you're not signed up for Prizepicks yet, you can use that promo code NOAH. When you sign up, you'll get your first deposit matched up to $100 when you do sign up with my promo code. But that's all that I got for tonight, guys. Wish you the best of luck on this slate. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. We'll see you in the next one.